1979, we discovered in space, no one can hear you scream. In 1992, we will discover on Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
I don't think he's from around here.
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
This is Rumor Control. Here are the facts.
Alien 3, stylized as Alien Cubed, is a 1992 American science fiction horror film directed by David Fincher, and written by David Giler, Walter Hill, and Larry Ferguson, from a story by Vincent Ward. Starring Sigourney Weaver reprising her role as Ellen Ripley, it is the third installment of the Alien franchise. Alien 3 was released on May 22, 1992. While it underperformed at the American box office, it earned over $100 million outside North America.
Outside London, the air is charged with electricity. The night heavy with anticipation. The halls filled with secrets. And just around the next corner is Alien 3.
All right, everybody in position then.
We'll take you on an incredible journey behind the scenes of Alien 3, through the amazing sets and bizarre special effects studios. Action! But no preview of the newest Alien movie would be complete without a look at its highly successful predecessors, Alien and Aliens. We'll not only relive some of their classic moments,
Close your eyes, baby.
but also get a first look at scenes that weren't released with the original movies, and glimpse the screen test that changed the life of a young actress named Sigourney Weaver forever. So sit back, turn the lights down, and get ready to experience Alien 3, bringing the screams to the screen. The screams began with 7 astronauts on the space freighter Nostromo in Ridley Scott's 1979 classic Alien. The film was based on a story by Dan O'Bannon and Ron Shusett. They got the script to producers Gordon Carroll, David Giler, and Walter Hill. Hill urged Giler to read the sci-fi thriller.
He said, "If you come to the big scene," I said, "You mean the thing where the thing jumps on its face?" That isn't it. Keep reading. So I read up to the chest burster, to the, if you remember where it pops out of. And I thought, well, this is, they talk about big grossing movies, this is the grossest. And I said, I see what you mean. This is really great.
If I hadn't been able to cook that one up, I don't think the film would be adequately scary.
I think we knew we had something special from the beginning.
Walter Hill and David Giler rewrote the script, taking the genre to a new level.
What Walter and I did was we made the characters more realistic, guys that swore and complained and all that stuff.
Toward the end, when one of the latter versions of the script was being typed up, she called in and said, now what is Ripley, a man or a woman? And there was like a beat, and we took the jump.
We really made it a woman just to get it off the, get it out of the area of being so traditional.
The co-producers also decided to go untraditional in their choice of a director.
I read The Alien, and I called them up, and I was in Hollywood in 24 hours.
Then, the biggest hurdle to overcome was the look of the creature itself.
It's the first question you ask, what is the alien going to look like?
Because we didn't really feel you could make this movie without having some kind of extraordinary idea for the monster.
While in Paris, Dan O'Bannon came across an unusual art exhibit by H.R. Giger.
My paintings always look like plans for three-dimensional things. So it was, in a way, close to do something for a movie. I think the movie this century is more important than paintings.
I thought, boy, you know, if I could get Giger to design a movie monster, namely for this one, you would have something really remarkable.
And O'Bannon showed us Giger's book. So we thought, well, this is just this guy. It's amazing.
As soon as Ridley Scott saw Giger's work, he said, that's it. That's the alien.
I've never been so sure about anything in all my life.
This is the painting, the old alien that Ridley Scott wanted to have for his film. And that called Necronome number 4, and I did it in 1976.
Giger is an extraordinary, eccentric, and indeed unique individual.
He's very charming. He used to tell me about his, like furniture that was made from human skulls and things like that.
H.R. Giger's futuristic lithographs of a biomechanical creature were just the inspiration Ridley Scott needed.
Ridley wants that I do the 3 monsters. That was the face hugger, the chest burster, and the big alien.
There were fine-tuning elements that went through several changes.
And he said, why you couldn't do a tongue with teeth? This was a good idea.
Very weird. Who thinks of these things? But it works.
From the mysterious-looking egg to the line, "In space, no one can hear you scream," audiences knew that they were in for an exhilarating experience.
The bottom line is you're there to scare the living daylights out of the audience.
We thought people were walking out. But what they were really doing was that they were getting them walking to the back of the theater. They didn't want to sit close to this thing.
And the scene that shocked the audience right to the core was
the chest burster. That was a very, very heavy scene.
The chestburster scene was not only a heavy scene for the audience, but held a few shocking surprises for the cast as well.
Ridley gave me this devilish look, little twinkle like we're going to surprise the hell out of him.
And everybody's wearing raincoats, and every piece of equipment is covered with plastic.
We knew that something was going to come out of John Hurt's chest, but we had no warning.
They had 3 cameras, and they said we're just going to shoot it so that we would get the reactions as they would be.
It just happened. All of us are going like, because it looks so real.
Veronica, of course, got it full in the face. And what you saw in film was her reaction to it, because she didn't really anticipate being splashed with this substance.
I ended up backing up and flipping over the back of the couch because it was just so... It was insane.
Even the editing on Alien played an important role in creating the tension that kept the audiences on the edge of their seats.
I think the great thing about films like this is what you don't see. After lots of experiment, we found that by keeping it down to a minimum, we created far more fear in the audience. For instance, Dallas going around these air shafts, but everybody talked about the terrible ending, but all it was 6 frames of these hands coming out.
Well done. Creation of a nightmare.
Ridley's willingness to try anything to achieve the effect spilled over into the special effects area, including an organic approach to the facehugger.
When he turns it over to examine it, you're really staring at oysters, clams, and I mean, you can't beat that. It just looks, it's the real thing.
Ridley's obsession with the real thing led him to cover Tom Skerritt with live maggots in a scene which was recently discovered in the archives of 20th Century Fox and has never been shown before.
She finds basically the nest, if you like, of the alien, where she finds where all the bodies have been taken.
I find Dallas and he's been cocooned or something. He had maggots all over him.
Really, you get his hands in and just cake it all over you like that. So, no, we need more, we need more. And you're just sitting there encasing this thing with this stuff being slapped on you, and you wonder, is this what I scratched and clawed my way up to the top for,
Alien went on to become an international smash hit, so producers Carroll, Geiler, and Hill decided to continue the saga. However, it would be 6 years before they found the right story and the right director, James Cameron.
Jim went in to hear what writing assignments they had available. Well, at the time, the only open writing assignment was an updating in the future of Spartacus.
And we just talked about, various things.
As he was walking out the door, having creatively passed on the Spartacus updating, David yelled after him, "Oh, and by the way, there's always Alien 2. Jim turned around, came back in, and the rest is history.
Get them out of there!
James Cameron, who had just completed Terminator, was hired to direct Aliens, as well as write the screenplay.
That's what attracted me to the project, the opportunity to create another world.
The second one, I think, has some of the most extraordinary action sequences in it.
Let me go over there! Get him!
The catchline for the film at one point was, Aliens, this time it's war.
The audience was in for some of the most terrifying battles against the formidable alien colony.
One of the things that I like best is getting a good sort of roller coaster-like adrenaline rush, and there are lots of thrills and spills.
I didn't quite know what to expect. Our medic lifts up a woman's head, and you see the eyes open, and you see that the woman is still alive. She was the one that really creeped me out. The sight of that facehugger just scampering towards Sigourney was really frightening, even as an actor.
I believe it was 8 or 9 operators to operate this one facehugger, to give it all that life.
To me, the ultimate scene is when the cargo bay door opens. Sigourney is in the power loader, and the queen alien is threatening the little girl Newt.
I think when Bishop gets ripped in half, that's a pretty good one. I mean, nobody knew how did they do that one.
The biggest difference, obviously, was the Queen, which was Cameron's and Stan Winston's work.
It was only the bizarre, insane thinking and imagination of Jim that would even attempt to try something like that on film. First inclination is, well, this is crazy, but this is also Jim Cameron. So my second thought would be, yeah, we can do that.
Get away from her, you bitch!
We sat down, Jim and I, and did a final sketch so we could see how the concept would work technically with 2 people inside her body.
Arm movement. Small moves, back and forth.
And then operators and puppeteers, external of that, and hydraulics, and radio control, and cable actuation, and how this design would in fact work. The Queen was a living work of art that performed.
Come on!
fear is a very strong reaction. It makes people realize that they're alive.
The overall final length of Aliens caused some scenes to be cut, or audiences might have met Newt's parents. Or did you know Ripley had a daughter of her own?
When the Ripley character wakes up on Gateway Station after having been in hyperspace over 60 years, the Burke character, played by Paul Reiser, comes to her and tells her that her daughter died.
I promised her that I'd be home for her birthday. Her 11th birthday.
Nothing pleases me more than the fact that fans of the film will be able to see that sequence back in the film in the special edition.
Now, Sigourney Weaver reprises her role as Lieutenant Ripley for Alien 3.
It feels like each time I've come back to the character, something huge has happened in between. So you sort of pick up the reins, but they're always sort of in a very different condition.
This time, she finds herself in a strange and isolated world.
She lands on a little planet that's a former prison. She's rescued, but the people that she's escaped with have not survived. So essentially, she has to begin all over again.
Charles Dutton, star of the hit TV show Rock, plays Dylan, one of the double Y chromosome prisoners doing life.
My character is the leader of these inhabitants, and he's also the spiritual leader. I mean, without him, I think they would still live in a world of chaos.
Dylan is serving his time with 24 other inmates at the Weyland-Yutani Work Correctional Unit on planet Fury 161. Superintendent Andrews and his assistant Aaron run the place, along with Dr. Clemens, who used to be one of the prisoners.
Into our environment comes a woman, doing and saying some very strange things.
She's the only survivor. And is Ripley. And she suspects the alien might well be on board.
The only way Ripley can be sure is to check the flight recorder on the crashed EEV, but she'll need the help of Bishop, her trusty but badly damaged droid from Aliens, played once again by Lance Henriksen.
We suddenly all know we've got a big problem on our hands. The only thing that she's told us is that it's afraid of fire.
When
the producers decided to do Alien 3, they turned to an avid fan of the first two movies, David Fincher, to direct.
He was very, very aware of what the first film was and what the second film was.
We looked at his reels and we met him.
He already had an emotional set in his mind as to what the third should be.
No, you can just do a stumble and go.
The Alien 3 sets play a major role in creating the ambience of the movie and in transporting the audience to an imaginary place that only exists on film.
Although it is a space movie, it's a very real world. And perhaps that's what's so good about the Alien films, that you believe it.
No! Don't start the piston! No! We have to drop it! No! What are you doing?
Production designer Norman Reynolds of Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark fame is combining several architectural styles for the sets of Alien 3.
We're treading a difficult area here, an area that combines both some science fiction and the past. In certain things you can see some Art Nouveau influences. We're really taking an old world and saying this is in the future sometime, somewhere where you just throw in a bucket of water to keep it clean.
It's uncomfortable and dark and claustrophobic, and there's kind of the same kind of motif, like liquid and acid and hostile.
You go onto the set and it's smoky and you see one of the actors in costume and makeup sort of standing by a wall. You're in the movie.
Long before set construction ever began, elaborate models were created to help the director in planning the scenes.
this is fairly accurate model, and he can get a very good idea of the sort of angles that he can hope to achieve, and I think it helps him to visualize his setups and how he's going to deal with the scene, really.
Models are very useful for my purposes, because usually when I'm doing storyboards well in advance of the set, before the sets are being built, then the model is the only three-dimensional sort of information that I've got, apart from plans.
Visual effects also require a great deal of planning. Richard Edlund, who won Oscars for his innovative work on the Star Wars trilogy, is combining the latest techniques to cross that fine line between reality and illusion.
When Ripley crash lands onto the planet at the opening of the movie, she's then lifted up with this gigantic crane and then moved around, and that shot was done with painted background, miniature foreground, and a big miniature arm. And in order to give it scale, we put a couple of people up on top of this miniature escape pod by projecting them on little pieces of cardboard. And those little touches kind of give the eye a sense of relief and believability.
To complement the somewhat austere look of the sets, David Fincher had a surprising idea for the look of the cast.
He said, well, how do you feel about her being bald?
I'll do anything for money, basically.
I said, how much money would I be getting?
I am bald anyway, so I probably just fit it into what he wanted.
You're either going to get a lot of attention or you're going to get into a fight.
It's okay here, but this part's too long.
I think it's sexy.
Beyond the forbidding look of the sets and the futuristic look of the cast is the one element that has haunted the nightmares of the audience, the alien itself.
I think the alien is the most terrifying beast of all.
H.R. Giger really tapped into subconscious fears in designing this creature.
Now, the special effects team of Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis use their knowledge from aliens to create an even more deadly xenomorph.
When we started Alien3, one of the first things that David came to us with was that the difference in the creature this time was that it was going to be much faster, much more cunning, and more lethal than we've ever seen it before. The technique that we're going a little differently with this time is that it's going to be a rod puppet that's composited through a blue screen.
You have basically a latex-covered armature, and you have very talented mimist puppeteers that really understand motion, trying to coax life out of rubber.
Well, sometimes the alien isn't in the shot when we're doing special effect shots, and they'll add in this remarkable, moving, slithering alien later. And I think those are the hardest shots because you ask the director, well, now, what's it going to do? And then you have to sort of basically imagine it.
We have a head that we call our attack head, which is a pneumatically controlled device that has a pneumatic ram in it that fires a heavy polyester resin tongue out of the head and is what actually punches holes in our artificial heads to actually do away with the aliens' victims. It's all air-powered.
And action!
Alien editor Terry Rawlins is back on Alien3 to add his special skill to the final cut.
It's like pushing someone in the corner. How long can you push them in the corner before you hit them on the head? And the hit on the head is the tiny little cut of the alien or something that happens which shocks everybody. They know it's going to happen, but they're never quite sure when it's going to happen. It's finding that length. It's finding how far you can go before you hit them.
Beyond the special effects and the technical wizardry, there is one character who lights up the screen with her presence and has had us all cheering for her since Alien.
The glue that holds them together is Sigourney Weaver.
It is Ripley's story. She's a classic heroine, and she really pulled it off. I mean, it was her. The first one was kind of her debut.
The first time I played her, I felt she was a very eager young lieutenant who believed that things were by the book. The second one, to me, the whole thing was like a nightmare that she could never wake up from.
second one. She was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress.
Those things are gonna come in here just like they did before, and they're gonna come in here and they're gonna come in here and they're gonna get us!
This little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training. Right?
Initially, there were 2 women being considered for the part of Ripley.
The first woman was Meryl Streep. Was a young girl who had not made a movie as yet.
I didn't want to beat her, but I thought, God, you know, this is a really interesting woman. I've never seen a woman in a picture like this. What's this?
That's a grenade launcher. I don't think you want to mess with that.
You started this. Show me everything. I can handle myself.
Yeah, I noticed.
We had Sigourney come to London, and Ridley shot a screen test.
We'll get you out of here. I'll get you up to the auto dock. What can I do?
David and I knew immediately that we had found Ripley.
One of the principal reasons to see Alien 3 is because it takes the Ripley character into another completely different dimension.
You think, well, okay, here's Ripley again fighting the alien, but you're going to be swept away by Ripley in this film, even more so than the first 2.
You watch some of the playbacks on the video and you think, Jesus, she's got a lot of talent, B, a lot of technique.
I just think of her as an ordinary person who is thrust into these extraordinary circumstances.
Extraordinary circumstances and amazing effects that keep you screaming for more are what fans of the Alien films have come to expect.
I hope that when audiences 25 years from now look back on these films, that they'll be able to say, my God, they're still scary.
You will not be ahead of this movie. You will not know what lurks behind the next door.
It's not reality, it's a nightmare.
Fast and Furious and rather dangerous.
It's a prison movie, it's a space movie, it's a horror movie.
It's a nasty Star Wars.
In the beginning, there was Alien.
I think they thought they were going to make a sci-fi with a monster in some cardboard box tunnels.
Originally, it had been an all-male story, and that they'd kind of arbitrarily just said, well, let's take the lead, make her a woman, because no one will expect that to happen.
But you never had a real idea of what the whole monster looked like.
You began to see another world, a nightmare, a living nightmare in front of you.
Then came Aliens.
There's something very deep-rooted psychological feeling about this monster. It's a fear that's almost primordial.
The sight of that facehugger just scampering towards Sigourney was really frightening, even as an actor.
Fear is a very strong reaction. It makes people realize that they're alive.
To me, the ultimate scene is when the cargo bay door opens. Sigourney is in the power loader, and the queen alien is threatening the little girl, Newt.
From her, you bitch!
The Queen was a living work of art that performed. She was a state-of-the-art puppet.
Come on! I didn't want to be in a science fiction picture, but I thought, God, you know, this is a really interesting woman. I've never seen a woman in a picture like this.
The bottom line is you're there to scare the living daylights out of the audience.
Outside London, on the lot of world-famous Pinewood Studios, Sigourney Weaver, director David Fincher, and crew worked toward completion of the new movie that will take an already classic series to yet another level. The movie is Alien 3, and in the tradition of its two highly successful predecessors, Alien and Aliens, it's making the next leap in the science fiction genre. Reprising her role as Officer Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver prepares once again to face the alien.
She lands on a little planet that's a former prison, and she's rescued, but the people that she's escaped with have not survived. So essentially she has to begin all over again.
In Alien 3, Sigourney Weaver plays against a backdrop of all male characters, some not so happy to see her.
This is an abandoned maximum security prison. And all the inhabitants of this place are sort of the wretched of the universe.
I'm a prison doctor with a past of alcohol and drug abuse, for which I served my time. And now I'm on the staff, because basically nobody would employ me anywhere else. Into our environment comes a woman, doing and saying some very strange things. So that's intriguing.
I play Superintendent Andrews, who's in charge of the Wayland-Yutani Work Correctional Unit on Fury 161.
Ralph Brown plays Assistant Superintendent Aaron, nicknamed 85.
He doesn't really necessarily believe her. He thinks she's being a bit paranoid now. Maybe she's some sort of, intergalactic terrorist anyway who's trying to destroy their company.
I'm trying to find out why we crashed. And I'm tortured by the idea, it may be paranoia or not, I don't know, that we might have brought an alien with us.
It is Ripley's story. She's a classic heroine, and she really pulled it off. I mean, it was her. The first one was kind of her debut, but the second one, a lot of people don't remember that she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress.
Well, I bet Casey doesn't have scary dreams. Let's take a look. Nope, nothing bad in there. See? Maybe you could just try to be like her, huh?
Ripley, she doesn't have bad dreams because she's just a piece of plastic.
Right. I'm sorry, Nathan.
You think, well, okay, here's Ripley again fighting the alien. But you're going to be swept away by Ripley in this film, even more so than the first two.
And you watch some of the playbacks on the video and you think, Jesus, she's got a lot of talent, a lot of technique.
I think she was always clearly defined as being someone with a slight, initially, superiority complex, who then, has to grasp and grapple with reality and survival.
I don't think of her as this brave, strong person. I think that women in general are incredibly strong. I just think of her as an ordinary person who is thrust into these extraordinary circumstances.
From the alien spaceship in the first movie to the nest on planet LB-426 in the second movie, artist H.R. Giger has redefined the look of the future.
The sets themselves were a recreation pretty much of Giger's artwork, his mind, his vision.
My paintings always look like plans for three-dimensional things. So it was, in a way, close to do something for a movie. And I think the movie this century is more important than paintings.
To me, the anchor to all the three movies is Giger. I honestly believe that a little bit of Giger will transform you inside.
Well, I think each film of the Alien series has not been what people think the future is going to be. I mean, after 2001, everyone thought everything was going to be like that, and Ridley, in fact, made it sort of down and dirty. And Cameron kept to that tradition to a certain extent, the roughness of space.
Famed British production designer Norman Reynolds provides the design expertise to the sets of Alien 3.
This set really has evolved over a period of time. It's in the future, yet it has a lot of the present and some of the past in it too. trick, I think, really, for me, or the difficulty has been, which is part of this challenge, is to make the thing look interesting, not overtly sort of science fiction, but to give it a look of its own. One of David's thoughts was, what he was looking for was something where you'd throw in a bucket of water and just hose the place down, the entire planet.
It seems that it's kind of consistent with the other two in that it's, you know, uncomfortable and dark and claustrophobic, and, you know, there's kind of, you know, the same kind of motif, like, you know, liquid and acid and, you know, hostile.
This movie is so gothic in terms of the setting, the sets. This is the most gothic place I've ever been. I've never seen anything like the sets.
This set here is the ventilation shaft set. And this is the alien seems to like getting down in these little corridors and ductings and hiding away.
Anyone who has anything to do with that particular scene needs a storyboard. It's a way of communicating to everybody what the director's wishes are.
The unique visual style in the settings of all three Alien movies certainly changed the look of science fiction forever, but the most unforgettable contribution to the nightmares of the audience is its namesake. H.R. Giger's futuristic lithographs of a biomechanical creature were just the inspiration director Ridley Scott needed for Alien.
His whole idea was that the thing had such a short life, and it would get darker. The skin would start to get darker as it progressed because it was bruising. And that's why its obsession with having to lay its seed so that it could reproduce, because it knew that it wouldn't have a long enough lifespan.
Director Jim Cameron and producer Gail Ann Hurd had a different approach in Aliens.
We came up with the idea that it could be analogous to a termite or a bee colony or hive. And that allowed for the fact that there could be not only a life cycle that had 3 different factors, but also the idea that there was the biggest, baddest alien of all was the Queen Mother.
Now in Alien 3, David Fincher and Sigourney Weaver have the chance to further the evolution of the alien and come up with new ways to terrorize and thrill alien fans.
So I wanted to go back to the mystery of having one alien, which Fincher had already decided to do, but he did want a creature that we'd never seen before, this thing that moves so fast and is so voracious and destructive. It was just blinding.
Special effects designers Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff, along with visual effects creator Richard Edlund, worked closely with David Fincher to bring the next generation alien to life.
Giger designed the alien for the first picture. It underwent a little bit of a transformation when Cameron did Aliens. And now Fincher doing Alien 3, it underwent yet another little transformation.
He kept referring to it as a freight train crossed with a Jaguar. You know, it's just something that was just fast and killing, and it would always get its prey, and they play with it or toy with it a little bit, but ultimately would never come back empty-handed from any kind of a confrontation.
Forced us to create a technology to handle Fincher's demands. We came up with this technique called motion, which involves a motion-controlled robotic camera that you can quickly set up on the stage and shoot on the sets, and then you can put the alien as a separately photographed creature into another scene.
We have a head that we call our attack head, which is a pneumatically controlled device that fires a heavy polyester resin tongue out of the head and is what actually punches holes in our artificial heads to actually do away with the alien's victims.
What we're doing is creating a false head. We'll tell you what we're doing each time. You might want to close your eyes now.
Your ears?
Head casting can be a frightening experience if you're claustrophobic. So we usually sit them down and explain the process.
You'll feel the plaster bandage heating up through the alginate, but that's a normal part of the procedure. We use a dental impression-making material called alginate, which is then reinforced with plaster bandage so that it holds its shape. And then we'll step away and let it completely harden, and then we'll pop you out of this thing. Yeah, there you go. Good. Perfect.
We can set them up on our rigs and you can graphically see the blood flying and skull breaking and so on.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it, Charles?
Yeah. As well as defining the visual style of the Alien series, Ridley Scott and James Cameron each gave their movies a different personality.
Action, come down.
Now David Fincher is adding his unique signature.
Fincher didn't really have the job yet. And he said, well, how do you feel about her being bald?
This entire planet that we're inhabiting is infested with lice.
So people have to have their hair cut extremely short, if not shaved.
I am bald anyway, so I probably just fitted into what he wanted.
You get a different kind of respect around town, I'll tell you.
I looked at one of the studio heads and I said, well, of course, if I'm bald, I have to get more money.
That's really good, but this part's too long.
I'd like A and B cameras on these, please. Can I see A and B? And action!
David Fincher is a genius, basically, for whom I would jump off London Bridge. I trust him implicitly. I mean, I stand awestruck, actually, watching Fincher work. He is extraordinary.
I don't know where a young guy with such an instinct for scenes, where did he come from? I have no idea. I was really surprised.
The issue is we use ourselves as bait. That's the thing that's missing.
Okay.
David comes from music videos, right? I mean, he did Madonna and other hot acts, as well as some magnificent commercials.
No matter how tense things get and how overworked we are, etc., and how difficult things get, you can always crack jokes with David. It's a tough thing making a film like this, and Fincher's the only one who has laughed all the way through it.
Action!
Beyond the special effects and technical wizardry, the talent of the cast and the force of the story combine to transport the audience on another journey of pure, unmitigated terror.
It's totally unlike the first two in its approach, in its thrust, its focus.
The great thing about films like this is what you don't see. It's the tiny little cut of the alien or something that happens which shocks everybody. They know it's going to happen, but they're never quite sure when it's going to happen. But we hope we're building up enough tension so that, as I say, when we hit them, they're going to be frightened.
This creature and what he wreaks in the theater makes it great as an experience for us.
The lights go down and you go, okay, take me away. Take me on a roller coaster ride to hell.
It's not reality, it's a nightmare.
Just really staring into the eyes of life and death.
It's going to be shocking because it is different. Fast and furious and rather dangerous.
I just know that it's going to be absolutely terrifying. And that probably people are going to miss a lot of it because they will be doing this. Do we have the capacity to make fire? Most humans have enjoyed that privilege since the Stone Age.
No need to be sarcastic.
The Alien 3 premiere was held on May 19th, 1992 at the Cineplex Odeon Century Plaza Cinema in Century City, California.
Earlier in the show, Sigourney Weaver talked about one of the most frightening scenes for her in Alien 3. At the movie's premiere, stars were there to experience their own scariest moments. The promise of terror in deep space brought the celebrities out in Hollywood last night. Sigourney Weaver enjoyed the chance to be glamorous. I have hair now. I'm a different person. After the screening, Sigourney and the film got rave reviews. I came here to get scared and I'm happy.
Absolutely action-packed from the first scene till the last.
Sigourney Weaver is the most beautiful and brave actress, I think, working today. In space, no one can hear you scream. It still seems familiar, doesn't it? Can it really be 13 years ago that Alien was on general release? Well, Sigourney Weaver is still out there, somewhere, being pursued by one of the screen's great nasties in Alien 3.
It all started in 1979 with Alien, followed by Aliens in 1986. And last week, LA saw the world premiere of the latest in the outer space horrors, Alien 3. It scored a scary $23 million at the box office in its opening week.
You know what they do a real good job of, I always thought, is they make it seem very realistic. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't go too far over the top with the special effects, but they do a great job with it.
Yeah, well, I just hope it'll be as good as Aliens 1 and 2. We got scared out of our lives with those.
You know, in the tradition of Hollywood, bigger and better. That's what I'm expecting.
The film once again stars Sigourney Weaver as the exceedingly unlucky Ripley, who arrived looking a little more glamorous than she appears in the film. The film was directed by David Fincher, who had his own ideas for Ripley.
He said, well, how do you feel about her being bald? And there's this sort of visible intake of breath from everybody, and I was very interested right away. And I said, I looked at one of the studio heads and I said, well, of course, if I'm bald, I have to get more money.
There's never been an opportunity for other Alien stars to appear in the sequels, as all except Ripley usually die a horrible death. So why did Sigourney agree to a third?
Basically, I wanted something very challenging to do because I feel that in the last 12 years, I'm more capable of doing harder roles. See, Jim Cameron gave me such a great role in the second one that I didn't want to cover the same area, but I did want to get a good workout, and in fact, I have.
Get down!
So scary, so thrilling. It was being in another world for 2 hours.
Sigourney's fantastic, as always. It's a huge movie.
Katie will be talking with Sigourney Weaver on this show soon.
Don't be afraid. I'm part of the family.
In all of Hollywood, there's only one woman who can stand alongside Schwarzenegger, Mel Gibson, Bruce Willis as one of those towering heroes of the big action films, like the new Alien 3. There's just something different about Sigourney Weaver, a certain strength, a certain classiness that allows her to do and say things that, by Hollywood standards anyway, are dangerously provocative. Something about her that led the crusty veteran actor Hugh Cronin to call her just a real down-to-earth broad. Judd Rose takes us to meet Sigourney Weaver.
She's bad. She's bold. She's back. And this time, she's bald. Would it be fair to say that you are the sexiest bald woman in movie history?
Well, I'm sure you say that to all the bald women you know.
Not that there's much competition. Aren't too many movie queens who'd part with their hair for a part in a film. But Sigourney Weaver didn't become a star by going the glamour route.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Rambo, Rocky, Dirty Harry, it's Ripley, believe it or not, the indestructible heroine of the science fiction classic Alien and its equally acclaimed sequel. In the macho world of action movies, here was a first, a tough, take-charge woman. Playing her helped make Sigourney Weaver one of the most bankable actresses in movies. Her last 4 films alone have earned $417 million, and she's on the cover of the current Premiere magazine with its list of the 100 most powerful people in Hollywood. I saw you were not on the list.
Yes,
but
it is ironic to have a woman on the cover of the list issue, which has about 4 women on it. But
how powerful are you?
I don't think I'm powerful.
No?
Probably not. I mean, if Alien does well, I will get maybe a little bit of credit. If it doesn't, it will be blamed on me. I can guarantee it. And they'll say, oh, a woman couldn't carry this picture, you know.
Understand, Weaver isn't asking for sympathy.
Movie stars are paid a hell of a lot of money, and why should we complain? But when I see Frankie and Johnny, that Al Pacino gets paid twice what Michelle Pfeiffer gets paid, or something like that, I wonder why.
Why indeed? Pacino got $6 million. Pfeiffer, arguably a bigger star, got $3 million. But Hollywood's unwritten rule is that male stars almost always get more. Take Bruce Willis. Last year, he smirked his way through 4 straight flops, which together lost roughly $135 million. If Bruce Willis were the star of the new Alien film, would he have been paid more than you?
Much more. Much more.
That's just a given.
Oh, yes. One of the executives at Fox, when I was negotiating for this, because I believed in the principle very much that if they had paid Mr. Willis a certain amount for Die Hard 2, that in fact for Alien 3 I should be paid at least that. And he said I would be embarrassed to pay that.
Weaver had to fight for it, but she got $5.5 million. That's one of the richest deals ever for an actress, but it's still $2 million less than what Bruce Willis got paid for Die Hard 2.
And Bruce Willis can make a bunch of pictures that don't make any money, and yet they still think that the audience will come out to see him. It's definitely a double standard.
Few of Hollywood's big names would argue with that, but almost none are willing to talk about it so openly. After all, publicly criticizing studio bosses is generally regarded as a bad career move. But Sigourney Weaver isn't afraid of the show business establishment. She's been part of it from the day she was born. Her mother, Elizabeth Inglis, is a former British stage actress. Her uncle, Doodles Weaver, was a well-known comic actor. And her father, Pat Weaver, president of NBC in the 50s, is also one of the fathers of TV's golden age. Among his enduring creations, The Tonight Show and The Today Show. Weaver comes by her patrician bearing rightfully. She grew up in a world of privilege. The right address, the right schools. But she was a big girl. By age 11, she was nearly 6 feet.
If you're this tall when you're 11, nobody wants to dance with you at dancing school. I finally said to my mother, look, this dancing school thing, no more, you know, because it was just too painful.
Were you klutzy? Did you bump into the furniture?
Oh, everything, yes. I mean, I was just a walking disaster.
Her given name was Susan, but she thought that was too short for such a tall girl. One day, while reading The Great Gatsby, she came upon a character named Sigourney.
I thought it looked nice. It was nice and curvy and long.
Your father objected.
I think they were a little taken aback, but on the other hand, his name was Sylvester and he was called Pat, and my mother's name was Desiree and she was called Liz, so who are they to talk, you know? My uncle was an Uncle Doodle, you know.
Despite her unorthodox name, Sigourney followed a predictable path. She was a debutante, went to Stanford and then the Yale Drama School. After that came several years of work in cabaret shows and off-Broadway theater.
How the hell does that happen?
Then, in 1978, she screen tested for a part in a science fiction film, a part originally written for a man.
I thought, well, that's her. I mean, this almost never happens in movies, but this is one time it really did.
Alien quickly turned an unknown into a cover girl, and Weaver went on to become one of the movie's most versatile leading ladies. Along with her glamorous looks, she had a wide range, from steely to steamy to downright silly.
Are we still going out?
Do you want this body?
Is this a trick question?
Take me now, sub-creature.
We never talk anymore.
Hit films, rave reviews, 3 Oscar nominations. Weaver quickly became an actress of great stature, in more ways than one. Over 5'11" in bare feet, in heels, she towers over many men, but only one ever complained.
Chevy wasn't thrilled with my being his. I mean, he's a big guy.
6'4", right?
Yes. I was looking eye to eye with him, and I think it just sort of, he'd never experienced it before, you know. I felt badly, but I did say to him, look, you're the tallest man I've ever worked with, you know. Think of how Mel Gibson would feel.
Weaver's leading man off-screen is Jim Simpson, a stage director who works mainly off-Broadway. They met at a theater festival where she was the star and he was tending bar.
So I sort of went over like Joan of Arc, and I said, oh, hi, excuse me, would you like to dance? And he looked at me and he said, no.
Because don't dance with the stars. I'm a bartender and I'm not supposed to do that. But of course, as she was walking away, I thought, well, I think you've made a mistake. And the rest is history.
Indeed it is. Weaver and Simpson got married. The urge to have a family came later while she was filming Gorillas in the Mist.
I remember sitting there in the muck, in the mud, in the rain, and I was being used as a trampoline by about 4 little baby gorillas, and they were jumping up and down on my stomach and pulling my hair and biting me and urinating on me, and I remember thinking, this is so great.
Inspired, she got pregnant. Daughter Charlotte is now 2. Sigourney took 3 years off to be a mother, and now she's back. Back to the future in Alien 3.
Get down!
It's been 6 years since the second Alien, and the new one has a style all its own.
More like a haunted house than a roller coaster ride, which is what people felt about the second one.
But let's just sort of get it right on the table. Is this film going to scare you down to your shorts?
Oh, gosh, yes. I think so. I think so.
Yeah?
Oh, yes. Ugh.
Alien 3 finds Ripley and that nasty lizard on board a penal colony in space that's infested with lice. The first day of filming, Weaver was lying nude under a sheet when she heard the director call for bugs.
And this guy comes over and he kind of goes like that, and up my nose and into my mouth and in my ears were all these, I didn't know what they were. They just felt awful, you know, they're just, ugh. I was like, get the nurse.
After all that, the scene was cut from the film, but the unkindest cut was her haircut. In the movie, Ripley's head is shaved to ward off lice.
My husband was very sweet because he told me at the time that he thought it was very attractive, and very sexy, and then months later, when it had grown back, he said, God, I really hated it, you know.
A bigger challenge for the filmmakers was raising hair. How do you scare film fans who've made this trip twice before? With a new, improved Alien that can do things like run upside down. It's faster, leaner, and yes, even meaner. Of course, the basic rules haven't changed. Rule 1, never peek in a dark place. Rule 2, watch your back. And Rule 3, always, always listen to Ripley.
I'm telling you! It's here!
Here and get that foolish woman back to the infirmary!
This reptile with a bad attitude is actually a guy in a rubber suit, or more often, a series of intricate models run by wires and pulleys. And that goo? Well, it's the stuff fast food joints use to thicken their milkshakes. So what prompts that look of pure terror?
It wasn't that hard for me with the backdrop I have of all these years of encounters with the alien as Ripley, for me to think that this was the most awful moment of my life.
The last few weeks haven't been any picnic either. With the film due out next week, Weaver's been busy reshooting the end and re-recording her dialogue. These last-minute fixes have left Hollywood breathless with rumors that Alien 3 is in trouble, and the pressure on Sigourney is all the more intense because she fought to be one of the film's producers, and she's had a say in everything from the script to the score. Remember, Sigourney says if the film flops, she'll get the blame. She, after all, is a woman operating in a man's world.
If women ran Hollywood, what would be different?
I don't know.
Frankly, she was stumped. But then, a few days later, we got a call from Sigourney. Come over to my production company, she said, and I'll show you what it would be like if women ran Hollywood.
Judd, have you met my director of development, Richard, Richard, what's your last name again?
Sims.
Richard Sims. He's indispensable. So who's on the phone?
Joe Roth.
Joe Roth, the head of Fox? Why didn't you tell me, you pig? Thank you, darling, Richard.
Listen, if this is a bad time...
I'll tell you if it's a bad time. Hello, Joe. How are you? Hold on one second. Robert, haven't we discussed how when I come into the office, I'd like you to dress as a Chippendale dancer? Do you have a problem with that?
No, Miss Weaver. I was cold.
Robert, you are a screenwriter. You have to get used to debasing yourself. Put these on.
Joe. I love Tom Cruise, but don't you think he's a little old for me? Can't we get Macaulay Culkin? He's perfect. Oh, good, darling. Thank you. Joe!
I'm exhausted. I've done enough work for today. I'm going home. You look so cute, Robert. Love for sale, appetizing young love for sale.
In the first two Alien movies, no foe was too frightening for Sigourney Weaver to take on. But for Alien 3, the producers came up with a scene that gave her the shivers. All that, plus the alien.
It's here. You got Clemens. Stop this, Radiant One. I'm telling you. It's here.
When Lieutenant Ellen Ripley tells you the alien's back, believe it. This time she's doing battle with her archenemy on a men's prison planet. It's infested with lice and bugs of all sorts. So Sigourney said yes to shaving her head for added reality. She told our special correspondent Nancy Collins that her first encounter with insects while shooting was quite alien.
And I heard the director say, sprinkle a few bugs on her, because this is a lice-infested planet. And I thought, well, that's fine, you know, he's going to sprinkle a few bugs on me. And this bug wrangler came over, who I don't think has worked with many actors, and he had a cup of bugs, and he sort of dumped it on my face, and I didn't know they were coming. He didn't go, now I'm going to put the bugs on your face. He just, in mid-sentence, I had suddenly bugs in my mouth and ears, and so I got after the director for it a few times, and every time I had to do something like climb something high really fast, he'd say, all right, let's bring in the tarantulas. She'll get up that wall pretty quickly.
Everybody's talked about your hair to death, although I thought it was extremely appropriate. Was that liberating finally to shave your head?
I guess it was. You know, I think most actors sort of love to be asked to do something extreme. Fox was a little worried that if I shaved my head, I'd be so ugly no one would be able to watch the movie. But we went ahead and did it anyway.
Would they have liked you to have done Aliens 4?
I think no one takes that for granted. You know, we'll see what happens with this one, and I hope they do make other Aliens, because I think it's such a wonderful opportunity for directors to sort of make a whole world happen for people.
Would you come back and play her again?
If there was an original script, I would not say no, but I just felt that it was unfair to the series and to myself, perhaps, to do something that was ever going to ride on the coattails of the one before. And the longer you do them, the more chance there is of repeating yourself, I think.
Alien 3 opens in theaters around the country on Friday.
Well, that short back and side suits you, the old shaven head.
Thank you very much.
Very few faces could get away with that.
Well, I'm not sure mine did, but anyway, it was an interesting haircut.
Yeah, and of course it applied across the board, because Charles Dance has it. Brian Glover, who started off with the advantage of not having any hair in the first place. What was the point of all that?
Well, I think it was David Fincher, the director, wanted to, I think, make us all look quite different from the characters in the other films. And I think he thought it was both at once a quite aggressive look, which it is. I have to say, people do avoid you on the street when they see a 6-foot tall, bald woman, yes. But it also, I think, makes us look very vulnerable. Like little baby faces, in a way. So.
And of course it was to do with the lice, wasn't it?
Theoretically, yes.
And we did hear that there was this thing where you were covered in lice, but there's nothing in the film in which you're covered in lice, which is a source of disappointment.
Well, I'm sorry, it is on the cutting room floor. I was covered with lice, which was...
really nice.
I managed to... I had to have things in my ears and nose so they wouldn't get away and never come out of me again, but it was, you know...
The things you do for your art.
I know. I'm so lucky.
Most of the cast appeared to be British.
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously a reason for that.
Well, we were lucky. We had the most wonderful cast. And we have always made the Alien pictures here in England.
Why is that?
Well, I think the English technicians are quite awesome, to use an American term. And also the way they build these sets is very innovative. And so they've always been made here for a lot of different artistic reasons.
I thought it might have been something to do with the fact that your mother was English.
Well, that's the good side of it. I get to see my family, and I love working in England. I've made most of my pictures I've made over here.
It's an apocalyptic, gruesome fantasy, this appalling creature. Do you think that there's an increasing fashion for this kind of movie?
I guess there's an increasing appetite for a kind of visceral experience at the cinema. I think that television has given us a real appetite for violence on screen, and that we seem to, as a crowd, enjoy sort of that kind of feeling. But what's interesting, I think, about some of these films that are coming out of this summer is that it's the end of the century and that there's a great balance of sort of cynicism and optimism in these pictures. Our film is quite grim, but in a way it's quite uplifting too, and there's a lot of humor in it, etc., in spite of the grimness. So I think it's very appropriate, actually, for the 90s in a way.
You're an actress, and a fine actress, who has, it seems to me anyway, picked her parts with some care. Did you resist doing Alien 3?
Well, yes, I think we all resisted it because the first two had been well done, and we didn't want to, like, mess it up the third time. So I think everyone approached it, the producers and 20th Century Fox, we all approached it with trepidation, and it wasn't really till we had a good situation in the story that, and I particularly felt that what I had a chance to do as an actor in this film was very challenging because my character is for a long time in this picture the alien, because she's in this colony of men who have sort of avoided and come away from women to whom women are forbidden, and so she's considered really a danger, a threat, and almost...
She's an assertive, aggressive character. She doesn't mind using her fists.
Well, in the case in which I use my fists, I think it's highly justified after an attempted rape, but actually I don't consider her an aggressive character at all. I consider her quite low-key.
But assertive.
Well, she's in a very aggressive world and asserts herself because no one will listen to her if she just says something normally. She has to sort of get their attention, you know.
Is that you? I mean, how much of that is you? Are you an assertive person yourself?
I guess when I have to be, I am.
Well, the trouble is in films, of course, all the leading men, most of them are midgets, aren't they?
Well, most of the leading men I've worked with are very tall, and in fact the only man who complained about my height, even nicely, was 6'4". And Mel Gibson, who's shorter than I am, was sweet about my height and never, you know, he's 5'9", and I guess I'm 5'11", and he couldn't have been nicer about it, you know. It didn't bother him at all, because I think he's very secure.
Yes. Some of the films you've done, Aliens, Ghostbusters, Working Girl, some of the most successful movies of the last few years from Hollywood. Does it make you a very powerful person in Hollywood?
No.
Does it make, you know, the ones we read about who can demand $5 million a picture and all this kind of thing?
I don't think actors are very powerful in Hollywood, behind the scenes. There are a few actors who are, like Kevin Costner. I can't think of a single woman who is. And I guess part of it is that I think we have better things to do than run after power in Hollywood. We have our families to raise and our children to take care of, and I think that's a much better way of spending your time than getting a big deal. I did do well on this picture because I felt that that men in action pictures are being offered so much more money than women that it was just galling. And so I attempted to make a kind of test case with this. But I would never expect to be offered that kind of salary for a normal female lead in picture. You just wouldn't get it. You'd be crazy to try.
You are a busy actress. You work a lot. You've made a lot of movies, and a lot of them very successful, and a couple of slow ones as well. So you do work, and you like working.
Well, I've done very little work since my daughter was born. I've only done really one job, and then a quickie on 1492, which is coming out in the fall, because I know that she's going to be going to school in about 5 minutes, you know, and that this time is so important with her, and I want her to remember that I was there. I was her mother. You know, that's the most important thing I can do in my whole life, I think.
And is it the last of Lieutenant Ripley?
Well, I think it is.
How close do you get to that appalling monster? I mean, it can't be easy to work with something that looks like that.
Well, actually, I find the alien quite beautiful. The Giger designs are very extraordinary. For some reason, the alien I never really spend time with the guy playing the alien. I don't want to get used to, like, seeing him drink tea and stuff, you know? Yeah. So when I have had scenes with the alien, which is very, very few, it's always been quite a powerful experience, because it is very frightening, you know, and especially because the director kept putting bugs all over this one that would leap on your face and up your nose. I was even more terrified.
Well, I hope you do slightly more genteel movies. Thank you for joining us.
Sigourney Weaver is an actress who has carved out a place for herself in a number of different types of movies. Comedy with Ghostbusters and Working Girl, and drama with Gorillas in the Mist. But she's probably best known as the action-adventure hero in the Alien movies. Mark Shearer talked with Weaver about Alien 3.
It's here. We got caught.
Ignore her at your own risk. She's everybody's favorite woman of the future, Sigourney Weaver. Back again as Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, up against that terrible creature one more time in Alien 3. There was no getting around another sequel, since the first two Alien movies generated more than $200 million and an audience appetite for more of the futuristic yet familiar Fright Fest.
Oh, I think it's very old-fashioned. I think they take you, to another place, to a future that's forbidding and yet at the same time recognizable, with people who are kind of like the people you know. And then this terrifying creature appears, and you want, it's sort of a safe way of being scared to death.
Get down!
Weaver jokes that her price to star in Aliens 3 went up when she was asked to shave her head. But no clip job at the bargaining table. She negotiated a figure reportedly in excess of $5 million. And you also are listed as a co-producer. Now, what does that mean in practical terms?
I wonder that myself. But I think what it's allowed me to do is participate in largely both the pre-production process, meeting different directors and working with different writers, and also the editing of the film took a long time. We added things that were always in the script but that we didn't have time to shoot in England. So that part of it was really interesting. I mean, it was quite a complicated film to make. And since I'm interested in producing anyway, it was a great way to learn it.
If the future for Sigourney Weaver includes producing, she brings to it a wealth of diverse experience on the stage and in front of the camera.
You know what it could be? Past life experience intruding on present time.
I'm sorry. I don't believe in any of those things.
From the comedy of Ghostbusters to the drama of Gorillas in the Mist, Weaver has built an impressive body of work that has earned her 3 Academy Award nominations and a reputation as a woman who will speak her mind on Hollywood's inequitable treatment of male and female stars.
There's the impression that people go to see men in pictures and they don't go to see women, and that all the women are interchangeable. This is the kind of thing you're told, okay? And when I look around at all the wonderfully talented actresses we have, Jessica Lange, Meryl Streep, Michelle Pfeiffer, Julia Roberts, Melanie Griffith, it's just Sharon Stone, it's amazing to me that these wonderful actresses aren't being used all the time. I mean, it's just such a great time for the industry with all this wonderful talent. And when I grew up, I was watching amazing women characters all the time, Ingrid Bergman, Bette Davis, all these people, and they were bringing huge box office into the industry. So, we have to figure out how to make that happen again somehow.
Sigourney Weaver has thrown her weight around in the Alien series, but she doesn't expect to participate in any future sequels. And at 42, with a 2-year-old daughter, she's favorably inclined towards supporting roles, like Queen Isabella in 1492. Is Queen Isabella in the upcoming Columbus film the kind of role that you see in the future for you?
Right, and there was a great job, a job in heaven, where I worked for 2 weeks very hard, but I didn't have to uproot my whole family. And I honestly had never done a job like that, and it was great to me to be part of something so exciting for a brief time, and then be able to go home, put my daughter back in school. So I'm kind of looking forward to this time in my life of maybe doing less work, but it'll be very challenging work, I think.
And you'll do more parenting.
More parenting, yes.
Do you find it appealing?
Oh yes, it's really great. I'm really enjoying it. And it goes by so quickly, I guess, so I don't want to miss too much of it.
The future for Sigourney Weaver looks a lot more comfortable than the one facing Lieutenant Ripley.
Your ass is already on the line. The only question is, what are you going to do about it?
It's the biggest, baddest, best of them all. 4 stars. It's nail-biting time again. A real roller coaster ride. Are you up to it? Alien 3, rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
The film received mixed reviews and was regarded as inferior to previous installments.
Fincher has since disowned the film, deeming it unfaithful to his original vision due to studio interference.
Way to escape. With the arrival of the next supply ship, the company would eliminate.
This is a maximum security prison, and you have no weapons of any kind?
Sigourney Weaver has just crash landed on a prison planet in Alien 3, the third and least exciting, but in some ways the most interesting movie about that plague of spider-like monsters from outer space. Weaver's lifeboat has brought her to a shabby, dreary planet inhabited mostly by sex offenders, and she suspects there may have been a stowaway on her craft, another one of those loathsome, slimy creatures who have been crawling into her nightmares ever since the first Alien in 1979. That's Lance Henriksen, or what's left of him, as the shattered android who crash landed along with her. After she learns an alien may have followed her, Weaver has trouble convincing the locals of the danger. Too much of the movie is devoted to footage like this, an alien's eye view in which we quickly realize that a human could outrun this creature only in the movies. Alien 3 is probably going to be a disappointment to most of the fans of the first two movies because it's dark, depressing, grungy, and lacking in the kind of high-tension action that closed the first and especially the second movie. But there are interesting elements here, especially the art direction, which creates this prison world in shades of rust and mold and despair. It's a great movie to look at, but the chase scenes at the end are drawn out and repetitious, and so I have to give it a thumbs down. This is probably the best-looking bad movie I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I had exactly the same reaction, too. I thought she did a real good job playing this character again the third time, and she makes her character interesting a third time. But I didn't think there was anything supporting her except maybe the look of the picture. The monster didn't show me any new tricks, and I felt, as you said, that I was really watching just a monster at loose in the house movie, and I got tired of it at the end.
You know, I looked at Aliens, the second movie, on Laserdisc not very long ago. The end of that movie really winds up with a lot of tension. She has to go back into that space area station to try to rescue the little girl from the monster, and there's a lot of devious stuff going on. Remember when the monster figures out how to run the elevator? That was a great moment in that movie. Well, and in this film, it's just chase. They run around and around, and the monster runs around after them, and it goes on, and that's it.
She's a queen like a hua, and a hua like a queen. Can't go wrong.
You've just experienced the biggest, baddest, and best of the Alien film series. Now you can experience it again and again when you purchase a previously viewed copy of Alien 3 at a special price at your video store. And you will receive through the mail a brand new Alien 3 cassette sleeve, plus this Alien 3 hat, free. Here's how to get your free hat and sleeve. 1. Purchase a previously viewed copy of Alien 3 at your video store. 2. Tear off the Proof of Purchase tab from your Alien 3 video. 3. Mail in the Proof of Purchase tab along with a cash register receipt, plus a check or money order for $2.69 for shipping and handling to Alien 3 Consumer Offer. P.O. Box 52972, Phoenix, Arizona 85072-2972. Make sure to include your name and return address to receive your free hat and sleeve. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. If you haven't received your hat and sleeve within 8 weeks, call 1-800-272-4274. Offer good only in the United States. Limit of 1 per household. Offer expires May 31st, 1993. Alien 3. Experience it forever. Previously viewed cassettes of Alien 3 are subject to availability.
Alien 3 was released on VHS and Laserdisc in the US on November 18th, 1992, and on January 22nd, 1993 in the UK.
Before you see Alien 3, relive the suspense of the original Alien, the danger of the blockbuster sequel Aliens, and go behind the scenes with the making of Alien 3. Free with the Alien Aliens Video Triple Pack. Available for $39.98.
Yoo-hoo! Hey, fuckface! Come and get me!
A video game of the same name was developed by Probe Entertainment and released for multiple formats by Acclaim, LGN, and Virgin Games, including Amiga, Commodore 64, NES, Super NES, Genesis, and Master System. Rather than being a faithful adaptation of the film, it took the form of a basic platform action game, where the player controlled Ripley using the weapons from the film Aliens in a green, dark, ambient environment.
In an insane world, a sane man must appear